Hello there. Hope you are well. Welcome to this channel, where we will be reviewing the movie stories. Today we will see about the movie named Van Helsing. I have covered the plot as far as my understanding. Please watch the movie and have fun. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The movie starts in 1887 Transylvania with a mob group marching to storm a castle. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, aided by his assistant Igor, creates a monster. He notices the mob moving towards the castle and is suddenly surprised by Count Dracula, who offers his castle for him to do research. When Dracula reveals that he will use the monster for his sinister plan, the doctor refuses. In an attempt to protect the monster from Dracula, the doctor is killed by Dracula. Meanwhile, the Frankenstein monster escapes and attacks Dracula, carrying the doctor and running away from the castle. The mob is directed towards the Frankenstein monster by Igor, and being cornered, the Frankenstein monster takes the doctor to the top of the windmill. When the mob burns down the windmill, the monster and the doctor fall into the burning tower seemingly dead. Dracula and his vampire brides come to capture the monster, but the tower is completely burned out. 1 year later, monster hunter Van Helsing travels to Paris, tracking and hunting down Dr. Jekyll. He is ordered to bring the monster by the Holy Order as low profile as possible. But the monster tries to evade and has a complete rundown in Paris at night. After a series of brawls, Dr. Jekyll, who has turned into Mr. Hyde, falls off the church tower and dies. Van Helsing turns back to the Holy Order, the church, but is met with sarcasm since he did not handle the situation as expected, bringing more attention. The church reminds him that he was crawling for his life on the church doorstep without any prior memory of himself, when they saved him and gave him a purpose to live for. The priest tells him about the story of Dracula, which took place 450 years before. A Transylvanian knight named Valerius, the Elder, promised God that his family would never rest until Dracula was killed. Valerius' descendant, Boris Valerius, was kidnapped 12 months ago and has not been found since. His son and daughter are the only bloodline left, and if they are defeated, the church fears that his bloodline will run out and his family will never enter heaven. Being the ally to the Holy Order for 9 generations, the church wants to help them. Also, the priest presents the current generation King Valerius to save a bloodline that has been a long time allied to the Holy Order in their battle against evil. He also gives a torn scroll with an insignia, the same as the ring which Van Helsing wears, saying that he might find out about his past as well on this journey. Van Helsing goes to the inventory and meets Karl, who is a specialist in making weapons to fight against evil. He gives Van Helsing a variety of things that can help him fight against vampires, and Van Helsing asks him to accompany him on his journey. In Transylvania, Prince Velkin tries to capture the werewolf sent by Dracula. When the trap gets stuck, Princess Anna comes to the rescue, but the trap is broken and the werewolf is let loose. When she tries to shoot the werewolf with a silver bullet, the werewolf jumps on her. To save her, Velkin gets in between and falls off a cliff. Van Helsing travels across many lands and arrives in Transylvania, where the people greet them grimly. When Van Helsing offers to help kill Dracula, Anna initially refuses, but unfortunately the vampire brides arrive in town for a hunting party and target Prince Anna. While Van Helsing tries to kill the vampire brides, there is a moment of sunlight that forces the vampires into hiding. Once the shadow covers the land again, the vampire brides catch Anna and try to kill her. Since the arrows are not making any damage, Karl suggests using holy water with the arrows to kill them. Van Helsing finally manages to kill one of the vampire brides. The villagers were unhappy since the vampires would now kill even more. However, Anna praised their courage and invited them to her palace. Meanwhile, 2 vampire brides mourned the loss of their companion, but Dracula treated them as easily replaceable. Anna admitted she was unprepared, as vampires don't usually attack during the daytime. Van Helsing asked Karl to search the castle tower and archives for clues on killing Dracula. When Anna refused to wait until morning, Van Helsing drugged her to make her unconscious. When Anna woke up, she was furious at Van Helsing for deceiving her and left to search for him. As she passed through a hallway, she heard a noise and saw a werewolf pause near the window. A werewolf tried to attack her, but she shot it and hid. When the full moon momentarily disappeared behind a cloud, her brother Velkin appeared and tried to warn her. However, when the clouds cleared, Velkin transformed into a werewolf in front of Anna. Van Helsing arrived and shot the werewolf, causing it to jump out of the window and escape to the town. Van Helsing followed the werewolf to the graveyard, where the gravedigger attempted to trap Van Helsing in a coffin. A battle ensued between Van Helsing and the werewolf, and the gravedigger got buried alive in his own dug-up grave. Anna stopped Van Helsing from shooting the werewolf, revealing that it was her brother. However, Van Helsing had known it was Velkin all along and didn't care since he was a danger to everyone, including Anna. Van Helsing promises Anna that he will help her. They track the werewolf and reach Castle Frankenstein. Anna is surprised to find that the castle has been abandoned since the owner's death a year ago, the same time her father disappeared. Inside Castle Frankenstein, Dracula prepares a machine to which the werewolf, Velkin, is brought. Velkin sees the dead body of his father, who was also turned into a werewolf by Dracula, and tries to attack him but is captured and strapped to the machine, which will suck out his life force to fulfill Dracula's objective. Anna and Van Helsing discover the Dracula nest, where thousands of embryos are ready to hatch from the energy they get from the machine. An electric surge passes through the machine, and the vampire spawns come to life and fly out. The vampire brides take them to the town to feed. Meanwhile, when Van Helsing kills some of the vampire spawns, Dracula hunts him, and they fight. When Van Helsing stakes Dracula's heart with a silver stake, Dracula acts like he is dying but reveals that no weapon can kill him, and calls him Gabriel. Since Van Helsing doesn't remember who he was, Dracula tries to refresh his memories, saying that Van Helsing and he have a long history. Meanwhile, Anna tries to save Velkin in the castle. The vampire spawns die, imploding without any reason, and the vampire brides shriek in anguish and retreat from the town. Velkin transforms again into a werewolf, and Van Helsing gets Anna and tries to escape from the castle. Saving a town girl from the vampire spawns, Carl flirts with her. Anna understands that she can't save her brother anymore. Carl wakes up from the couch from a nightmare and accidentally looks at a scripture of warriors fighting as men and suddenly transforming into Dracula and werewolves. Anna and Van Helsing fall into a broken underground passage where they find the Frankenstein monster. Anna tries to kill the monster, but Van Helsing stops her and captures it. The monster warns them that if Dracula finds him, his life will be the key to bringing life to vampire spawns permanently. A werewolf sent by Dracula sees the Frankenstein monster, and Anna tries to shoot it before it escapes. Since Dracula will try to recapture the monster for his children, they plan to take it to Rome, where they can protect it from Dracula. Anna sends Van Helsing with the Frankenstein monster, and they transport it during daylight by cart. During the travel, the vampire brides track him and try to capture the cart. When the cart crosses the broken bridge over a cliff, the cargo falls down the cliff passage. To capture the creature, both vampire brides try to catch the cart, but the Frankenstein monster is not there. Instead, silver stakes and arrows are kept as a trap. The cart crashes in the valley and shoots arrows into one of the vampire brides, killing her. Van Helsing then reckons with the actual cart carrying the monster by Anna. The werewolf intercepts them, and the cart catches fire during the attack. Carl lets the Frankenstein monster free from its locks, and both of them jump from the cart. Van Helsing shoots while jumping away from the cart when the werewolf attacks him eventually. Anna finds Velkin dying with a wound from the silver bullets from Van Helsing. She also finds out that Van Helsing was bitten by the werewolf. The vampire brides capture her and demand a trade-off between Anna for the Frankenstein monster. Carl informs them that Van Helsing has 2 days before his first full moon, after which he will be permanently a werewolf. He has to find Dracula and cure himself before that. They arrive at a masquerade ball in Budapest. Anna is mesmerized by Dracula and they dance in the ball, where she sees that he has no shadow in the mirror to reflect. Dracula plans to keep Anna as his new vampire bride and tries to enslave her by biting her. Carl distracts Dracula, at which point Van Helsing jumps in and rescues Anna. Anna snaps out of Dracula's control. Dracula calls Van Helsing and shows him that he has captured the Frankenstein monster, and reveals that all of them in the ball are actually vampires. Carl drops his gadget, which emits light equal to sunshine, and kills all the vampires in the palace. Evil dwarfs capture the monster and carry it to the castle, trapping Van Helsing. Carl says that he informed Rome about the situation and they ordered to kill the Frankenstein monster even if it means killing Dracula. Van Helsing starts to feel the transformation effects on him, and they begin to search for Dracula's actual hideout. Carl explains what he learned from the scriptures in the castle. Dracula was the son of Valerius the Elder. It all started when Dracula was killed by the left hand of God because Valerius' son made a deal with the devil. Valerius sought forgiveness from Rome and made a deal to kill Dracula. Since he was his son, Valerius could not kill him, but instead banished him to an icy fortress with doors of no return. They could not find the door, but Van Helsing then discovers that Anna's father was watching the map in the castle as it was the door, but he could not learn how to open it. The missing scripture that Van Helsing has matches the map on the wall, and it turns into an icy mirror. All three pass through the mirror and reach Castle Dracula. Van Helsing captures Igor and threatens to kill him if he does not show them the way to find the cure. Carl recalls the scripture in the castle and says that a werewolf's bite would kill Dracula, thus he has the cure for them. Van Helsing also suggests to Carl that if he is not cured by the stroke of midnight, he wants Carl to use the stake to kill him. He then kisses Anna and leaves to free the monster from Dracula. Igor shows them the place which has the cure, but traps Carl and Anna in the chamber. The vampire brides try to stop them, so Anna sends Carl out of there with the cure and fights with the vampire. On the way, Carl is attacked by Igor outside. Meanwhile, the Frankenstein monster is being used and its life force is transferred to the vampire spawns. When Dracula is excited to see that his children are being brought to life, he sees Van Helsing helping the Frankenstein monster escape. He takes his Dracula form and tries to stop Van Helsing. Dracula claims that Van Helsing is too late to stop his children from being brought to life, but he soon learns that Van Helsing has been bitten and is now the one thing that can kill him. Carl saves the Frankenstein monster who was hanging on a bridge and coincidentally jumps into the chamber where Anna is fighting with the vampire. The Frankenstein monster promises to distract the vampire and asks Anna to help Van Helsing. Dracula, badly hurt, offers to tell the original story of his life as the left hand of God and who killed him. Meanwhile, Anna kills the vampire by staking her in the heart. Dracula tries to deceive Van Helsing by asking him to partner with him, but he refuses and kills Dracula by biting him, thereby killing all the spawn of Dracula. Anna injects Van Helsing with the cure before midnight strikes, but the werewolf jumps on her. Carl, seeing this, tries to stake the werewolf as he thinks the cure failed. Anna injects Van Helsing with the cure but is killed in the process of saving him. Turned back to his normal self, Van Helsing mourns the death of Anna. He then burns Anna's body on a cliff overlooking the sea. The Frankenstein monster departs on a raft, and Van Helsing sees Anna's spirit reuniting with her family in heaven. Van Helsing and Carl ride off into the sunset. Some of the review scores based on the famous movie review sites for your reference. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe for more. Your support means a lot and helps us continue creating content. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.